Hello, this is CityScape, a regular podcast featuring people, places, and ideas that impact our community. I'm Dan West with the Livonia Westland Chamber of Commerce. Today we will talk to the developer who's leading a major construction project here on the corner of 7 Mile and Farmington to include a Meijer grocery store. Demolition is complete and site work has begun on the 16-acre parcel on the northwest corner of 7 Mile and Farmington for a two-phase redevelopment. The first phase involves the construction of a 75,000 square foot structure for a Meijer Fresh grocery store closer to Farmington Road. Later on, plans call for the construction of 102 townhomes on the west end of the property. Until demolition began this spring, the site has basically sat vacant since Kmart closed its store here in April 2017. The property is owned by Schostak Brothers and Company, a four-generation family-run development company that originated in Detroit in 1920. Among its biggest projects in Livonia, the company owned Wonderland Mall and redeveloped it in 2006, and it also built Laurel Park Place and the adjacent office buildings in 1989. We are joined today by Schostak's president, Jeff Schostak. Jeff, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
What are you seeing in the marketplace today that brought Meijer and the townhomes as a redevelopment for this site?
Sure, it's interesting. You pointed out Kmart closed in 2017. And, over the years, we had brought some different plans through and trying to see, really, what this part of Livonia, really, what did the market demand here? What did it want? Because you can have all these ideas, but we're really a lot of times at mercy of what the market demand is. And what we realized as this once was a more active commercial corridor in Kmart's heyday, and obviously there's still some deep, solid commercial activity here now, but it's a bit more neighborhoody than, a highly active, call it, 96 in Middle Belt or 7 in Middle Belt, Plymouth in Middle Belt, that kind of those areas. So it's more of a neighborhood, and neighborhoods really attract grocery stores. Grocery stores like to be around the rooftops and around the residents. And we knew Livonia did not want a big box grocery store. And your average Meijer is closer to 200,000 square feet. And this is only a 75,000 square foot Meijer. We can get into the differences later if you like. And so we knew Livonia wanted mixed use. We knew there was a good residential demand here because there's just, one, we're underserved with residential units really across the country, but certainly in Michigan. And in Livonia, there hasn't been that much new residential built, at least on the, townhome side. There's been some, but not as many projects as a lot of neighboring communities. And so we felt it was a really good mix that we could bring, brand new market rate, nice townhouses to go along with a smaller footprint Meijer that would really fit in well with the neighborhood. And Meijer was very interested. The site really worked well for them. And we feel very good that the townhouses will have a lot of activity when we look to rent those out.
Now, you explained there's a difference between what's going to be built here for a Meijer Fresh and what's a traditional big box Meijer store, as we see on Middle Belt and Schoolcraft. Can you describe just quickly how the Meijer Fresh is different?
Sure. So really it's focused on groceries. That's kind of the main thing. So it's all the grocery type items, all the great deals and prices you see, what drives people to Meijer, customers to all the other Meijer stores. You'll have all that here, but is what you don't have all of the soft good apparel type items. So it's really grocery, pharmacy, and then, babies and pets.
So it won't have the apparel and the sporting goods, and,
right? Which is a large part of those stores.
Stuff like that.
Exactly. So it's really focused on your daily needs. Your daily needs are groceries, food for your kids, babies, and pets.
So, how long will it take to build the store?
The Meijer will be open sometime next summer, I would think. I think that's the plan. We don't have an official date. But just based on how long these things take, and as you can see right now, the demo progress is great. I think foundation should be coming in soon, so that'd be great.
So, let's talk about the townhomes. What is the timeline for construction there?
We're still in the design and kind of like costing process. So it's designed, but now we're doing the official construction drawings, and with that process, then we'll start to bid it out with general contractors. So in an ideal scenario, that's, later this year, if, all the stars align, worst case scenario, we'd like to think that's next spring we would get going on that. And it's 102 townhouses.
Can you, any detail of what kind of square footage, size bedrooms? I know it'll be a variety, but.
Yeah, so it's all 2 and 3 bedrooms. And, 2-story and 3-story, depending where they are on the site. And, they're generally very spacious. That's the beauty of townhouses versus more like traditional apartments. And, with the general look in them in the feel, we think 2 and 3 bedrooms kind of made the most sense for this area because we plan on attracting families.
Okay.
And we don't think it's, 1 bedroom, a young professional that is looking for 1 bedroom generally is not maybe going to a townhouse. Townhouses usually are 2 and 3 bedrooms. Okay. But they should be quite spacious. And the design and look and feel of them is going to be very similar in the neighborhood right behind the shopping center. So they look in a lot of ways, hence the name townhomes, like traditional single-family homes.
So the plan next year is finish up the Meyer through the course of 26 and then get into construction on the townhomes.
Yeah, and there will clearly, hopefully, be some overlap of construction. The townhomes on that side and the Meyer store over here. But the Meyer will clearly be open before the townhomes.
You mentioned this earlier. Developers have been telling us that there's a shortage of apartments and townhomes and that type of housing product, not just in Livonia, but across Metro Detroit. And you mentioned nationally. Can you talk about what, obviously it's driving what you're interested in building going forward, but talk about what that shortage means to Metro Detroit and to Livonia.
Yeah, look, there's a huge crop of people out there that either don't want to or don't need to, or, maybe can't afford, owning their own home. You can afford the mortgage payment, but you probably can't afford all the other things that we all know encompass owning a home. Or you're getting divorced, or you're just younger, or your kids are getting married later now, whatever it is. People are working from home a little bit, so maybe you want a little more flexibility if you're whatever it might be. And there just has not been enough of that built in Livonia in particular, but certainly across Metro Detroit. We're underserved in that space, because the reality is it provides a very flexible way of living. You can get anchored in on a home and you lose your job, the economy changes, and you still have that home. Where apartments, they're 1-year leases, so you have the ability, if you want, to save up and go find that home, or just be like, look, this is just a great location and it's just simpler and easier at this point in my life to have it. And that has only grown, with the millennial generation.
Well, it sounds like it is one of the targets of the young professional, because we're even hearing a lot of the 3-bedroom ranches in Livonia are going for $300,000.
Right.
And, young professionals, young couples don't have $50,000, $60,000 to put a down payment on a house.
Right.
So that's where they're looking for somewhere else.
And they're getting arguably just as good here, if not nicer, because it's brand new, and where they don't have to come up with a down payment. They don't have to worry about, insurance, taxes, all the things. Apartments, you lease it, you pay your monthly bill and whatever add-ons you want, from a cable and all that sort of standpoint. So it really makes it easy. And it just seems that the younger generation is preferring that and has delayed buying homes longer than where it was more the American dream. As soon as you could, you bought a home. That's just not the case anymore. And so there wasn't enough of this product built for such a long period of time that now we're behind, the millennial and whatever they call the group behind them.
Can you share with us quickly what you're seeing in the marketplace for development plans, not only in Livonia, but across Metro Detroit, the types of things that you folks are working on?
Yeah, I think the most active asset classes are really multifamily apartments, townhomes. Those are very active for what I just described. Retail's still quite active. The right locations, the right type of retailers. There's a huge crop of retailers that are doing very well, that are expanding, doing new stores. Industrial is very active. It has been. It's had a great run for about 10 years. Livonia's been a big industrial community for a long time. I think they'll continue to see industrial be active from a ground-up development and just leasing of existing space. So those are really the most, the biggest one that's hit the most is office.
Okay.
Office has really slowed down through COVID. Not that it's going away. It's just there's too much product. You could drive around really any town in Metro Detroit and you're going to see too many office buildings.
Sure.
And so companies are still leasing office space, but if they were a 50,000 square foot user, maybe they're only a 20 now or a 40. And so we're just way overbuilt, and there's just too much of that product. So you're going to see more of that actually get converted to multifamily, to apartments or some sort of rentals or even condos. It's expensive to do, but if you found the right building, the right size, they are happening, in and around town. But I think, generally multifamily apartments and industrial are kind of like leading the way, and retail's right there with it for the right type of retail.
So Well, Jeff, we congratulate you on this project. We wish you all the best. Looking forward. I mean, it's kind of amazing to see. What you guys initially got this property in the 1970s? The company did, and stuff like that.
We developed it for Kmart originally, right around there. Fun fact: Mike Duggan's dad was my grandfather's attorney when he went in front of Livonia City Council and planning to get this done.
Get the approval.
Yeah,
so.
But it looks great now.
Yeah.
You know, it was unfortunate it took so long to get it going, but we had to come up with the right plan that worked for us, that worked for the city and the residents. You know, there was a lot of collaboration with the residents on this one to get where we had. To get where we are now, and it looks great that it's cleared. I think that makes everyone in Livonia happy not to look at the old Kmart building, and it's obviously going to look even better when the Meyer and the townhomes are up.
Well, best of luck on the rest of the project. We look forward to seeing it come to fruition over the next year. And Jeff, we thank you for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here.
No problem. That's all we have for this edition of Cityscape. We thank you for watching. We'll catch you again next time.